Shall we begin?
The human whose name is written in this note shall die.
So Death Note. Yeah. I never thought the day would come when an actual live-action Death Note movie from Hollywood would get released. For the past 20 years or so, Hollywood has made a habit of spending millions of dollars on getting the movie rights to mangas and animes, only to have them placed in development hell for years. So it's very surprising to see movies like Ghost in the Shell and Death Note finally get produced and released. Unfortunately for both movies, they were very disappointing, despite noble intentions from the directors. Yes, Netflix's Death Note is a disappointment. It's a real damn shame because the movie went through such a journey to get made, and we've arrived to something like this at the end of the road. I got into the anime Death Note a while back, mainly because I heard that it was a good show and there was going to be a live-action Hollywood movie about it coming up. So yes, I saw the anime and got hooked. The Death Note anime is amongst one of the best animes I've seen. Then I saw the live-action Japanese movies. Out of all the live-action Japanese films, the first two movies directed by the great Shusuke Kaneko, however you pronounce his name, were actually very good. I had hoped the Netflix Death Note would be better, or at least on the same level as Kaneko's Death Note. But unfortunately, my hopes were crushed. The Netflix Death Note was a major disappointment. So what went wrong? Let's find out. It's pretty clear that the filmmakers had so many ideas on where they wanted to take their version of Death Note. Yet, the movie is only 100 minutes long, and because of that, the movie settles for a streamlined version of all those ideas, and in the end, the movie comes off as rushed and sloppily put together. I also believe part of the reason why the film is so sloppy is because it's trying to be part remake, part original story. There are a few scenes lifted straight from the manga and anime, and then there are a few scenes which are completely new, like the entire third act. It seems that Adam Wingard can't decide whether he wants to do a remake or a fresh original take that fans haven't seen before. Unfortunately, Wingard makes the mistake of trying to juggle both. A remake/original story could work if it were executed properly by having more time to explore and resolve its ideas, but for some reason, the film was not blessed with having a 2-hour runtime or longer. The film should have just been a fresh, new, original take on the concept of Death Note, rather than directly remake the story from the manga and anime. Had they taken creative liberties, they likely would have had something more proper that wasn't restricted by obligations to make a faithful remake. Adam Wingard's directing is nowhere close to being as good as it tries so hard to be. It tries too hard to be nitty-gritty and R-rated by adding cursing at unnecessary moments and unnecessary bloodshed. The manga, anime, and even the Japanese live-action movies never relied on blood and gore to deliver shocks. Instead, they relied on their story and characters to deliver shock and thrills. Adam Wingard's Death Note relies heavily on bloodshed and cursing to deliver something shocking, but in the end, it hardly delivers a spark. There are some things I did like, such as the film's semi-80s tone, a couple death scenes here and there, and the entire first act where everything is properly introduced and established at a steady pace. Unfortunately, it loses steam pretty quick, which brings us to the third act. Like I said, I liked the first act, but once we got into the third act, that's when things start going downhill. The third act is an editorial mess of epic proportions. To say it feels rushed seems like an understatement. You even get a bit nauseated because of how uneven it is. It's so unfocused because it's trying to tie up so many loose ends, but the payoff is nowhere close to being satisfying. The third act feels like the product of a student who started and finished his project on the very morning the project was due. Yes, the third act is that bad. Some of the performances are decent, but the one who nails their performance is Willem Dafoe. Not only does his voice resemble the anime English dubbed voice actor's version of Ryuk, but he personifies that character perfectly. Which is a damn shame because Ryuk gets very little screen time, and instead, we're stuck with Light and his girlfriend Mia. The film's version of Light is very uninteresting, mainly for the fact that this version of Light is given a cliche motivation: revenge. Searching for the criminal who killed his mother, which he finds out and kills the criminal in the first act. While I do find the revenge trope to be generic, I do admit that it could have had some great potential. In fact, it almost reached that potential in the screenplay's first draft. In that early version of the movie, I found myself actually feeling sorry and even caring for Light at times. Unfortunately, the movie does absolutely nothing with the revenge trope, and it only serves as cannon fodder to give Light a reason to become Kira, which is also executed poorly. Kira's rise to power is covered in a moronic montage switching between Kira's actions, people dying, and Light having sex with Mia? Who's the genius who came up with this idea? Speaking of geniuses, the genius character of the entire franchise is absolutely manhandled in the worst way possible. Of course, I'm talking about L, one of the best and most interesting characters in anime and manga history. Somehow, the movie managed to successfully undo the greatness that made L such a compelling character. This version of L feels so off character that it doesn't feel like the actor is playing L at all. This version of L becomes emotionally unstable up to the point where he almost kills Light with the Death Note. L would never do that. He believes in the justice system, not revenge motivated by unstable emotions. Adam Wingard betrays everything what L is and what he stands for. All the elements that made L great were stripped and replaced with inferior elements. Listen, I'm all for a new fresh take on a character, but just because it's different doesn't mean it's automatically good. What you have to take into account is how that character is portrayed and executed in the end. Take Heath Ledger's Joker and Jared Leto's Joker, for example. Both are different portrayals of the character in ways that have never been done before. The difference is that one is executed expertly, well, and properly, while the other is not.
The only infamous Harley Quinn!
Adam Wingard's version of L is the Death Note franchise's version of Jared Leto's Joker. If it wasn't too obvious, yes, I absolutely fucking hate Jared Leto's fucking Joker.
To this handsome hunka.
Overall, Adam Wingard's Death Note is a major disappointment. The movie tries too hard to be R-rated, it tries too hard to be nitty-gritty, and it pretends to be better than it actually is. It tries too damn hard and falls excruciatingly flat. The film is too short and tries to cover so much in so little time, which results in a poorly put together film. It tries to channel Donnie Darko at times, but fails miserably since its genres are all over the place. I do admit, it's a tad bit better than the first draft that I read. In that version, there were no Shinigami and no Ryuk, so it left a major plot hole as to how Light even got the Death Note in the first place. But still, that's not saying much about the movie. It still doesn't excuse it from being a poorly rushed mess of a film, which now has me worried for Godzilla vs. Kong. I try to make myself remember that Godzilla vs. Kong is a different film with a different budget, different production schedule, different writers, different producers, and a different studio. But still, I can't help but feel a little worried. If Netflix chooses to produce a sequel, I hope that the next director, or if Adam Wingard returns, that they learn from their mistakes and deliver a better film next time. Shusuke Kaneko's two Death Note movies are still the best live-action adaptations of Death Note in any manga or anime to date. Seriously, give those movies a watch. I award Death Note 1 star out of 4.